Welcome to Your Thoughts, Your Reality Radio with your host, K. William Spencer. This program is geared to help you see what thoughts and or beliefs are holding you back from being your best for yourself and those around you. Your life is only as good as your thoughts. For more information, visit our website at www.ytyrradio.tk. That's www.ytyrradio.tk. Now, here's your host. Hello and welcome to the show. This is K. William Spencer, as always. We're sorry about everything being so late. I'm using a new online editor or presenter, if you will, and it is actually my first time for using it, and the reason why I'm having to do a pre-recorded show or a recorded show in the first place is partly just due to my lackadaisical way of doing things recently. Just been very tired, just doing this show all by myself, getting guests, interviewing them, other projects that I'm working on for Webmaster Plus and other things. It's become very tiring, but learning to, if you will, manage my time a little bit better, and of course doing the multitasking. Also, the guest I had a change in his schedule, so unfortunately my guest could not make it tonight. So, all of that being said, let's get on with the show. Tonight is a subject that I actually wanted to talk about for some time. It's just about something that we all know one way or another, whether we really let it come to the forefront of our minds or we hold something to the back of our minds. We know that this exists. Excuse me. And it's just manipulation. We know that it exists, and we usually think this is something that our parents do to us, the schools do to us, the government and the bosses and our jobs do. This manipulation just goes on and on. It's something that exists with all of us. Even as children, we think about what our dreams are. And somewhere down the line, we lose our dreams. At least a lot of people do. I would venture to say, most people lose their dreams as they grow into adulthood because something's replacing the dreams, and we call it reality. Well, let's read this. As children, we dreamt of such wonderful things, all the possibilities, all the wonders yet to come. Were they just dreams, or did we sell out to what we call reality? Dreams and possibilities abound. Have you forgotten? That is something that we all have to come to terms with, because somewhere down the line we learn to give up on what we really wanted, and we try to fit in. A lot of people did that. I did that when I was younger. I wanted to fit in. Of course, I've been in and out with that fight all my life. My biggest fight was when I was 15, and realizing that I didn't need to fit in with other people as much as I thought I did, or at least a certain group of people. Why? Because to fit in with them, they wanted me to forget about other people that actually were more genuine than they were. So I took the genuine people over the people that wanted me to fit in. Couldn't do that. Excuse me. As we get older, we usually ask our parents, and sometimes it ends up being our moms, why do we have wars? Calvin and Hobbes actually had a cute cartoon, but I didn't remember to put it in. And the question here comes from a child. Why do we have wars? Now, Unless your mother actually comes from the cartoon script non sequitur, I doubt that the answer is going to be the same as what's written here. But it's probably going to come out somewhat similar to this, whether it's really said this way or just hinted at in this respect. Because we are ruled by an elite group of psychopaths who own the banks that control the governments and media, they fund both sides of the war for profit, and they manufacture the consent of the public through the propaganda of the media. Well, if you think about what she just said here, we have what President Eisenhower is the first one that I really remember hearing say this. We have the military-industrial complex. Hate the term, is overused these days. I don't think people really know what it really means, but if you think about it, the military industrial complex, it is a complex setup of companies, corporations, usually throughout the U.S. And they are making money. They're earning money, however you want to look at it. They're making money by sending you, me, our brothers, our sisters, aunts and uncles, cousins, and people we don't even know off to a war to fight an enemy that never attacked the U.S. Or if you're in another country, they didn't attack your country either. So, U.S. gets involved. Why? Because they earn money by selling or using these weapons. Funny, the United States never calls their weapons weapons of mass destruction. They drop depleted uranium bombs on their supposed enemy. All sorts of other toxic matter on an unwilling, non-aggressive public or nation that never came to the U.S. to fight. And we do this usually under the guise of a preemptive strike. So, a little country such as Iraq that supposedly fought or started the war against the United States took over 10 years to fight, and in World War II it only took 4 or 5 years. Why double the time for a small country that did not have the means to wage a war against such a superior power as the United States? I ain't gonna understand this one, but okay. There's much more to this. I mean, if you look at it from a different point of view, everybody wants to prove whether or not it was a justifiable war. Okay, I don't think it was, but on the other side, let's look at it from the other angle. Why did it take 10 years or more to fight in a small country that's a desert country that didn't have any natural resources to build these things? They always had to buy their weapons from someone else. Okay, so where did all this come from and why? So they fund both sides of the war. So they loan the money to Iraq to fight back the United States. In the United States, okay, so it basically, okay, military-industrial complex that says, we'll fund you this, or the banks say, we'll fund you, you go buy the same weapons and whatnot, or a cheaper version of the same weapons that you use to fight the enemy. So, essentially, we sent off our family members, young and old, to fight a war that never started on your own soil. But, guess what? All the companies that made the weapons and the clothes and the helmets and defensive stuff, whatnot, they made a killing. And if you had the stock market and you invested in that company, you more than likely made a killing too. No pun intended. So, let's move on. I get to a point where I can't tell, well, you know the old saying, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. And this is something I found recently, and I just thought, this is so apropos. I can't tell if it's killing me or if it's making me stronger. I don't know. I think it's killing me, because I don't really feel any stronger out of it. I'm getting a bit more pissed off about it, but I still think it's killing me. Because even, what's his name, Dr. Suzuki, the geneticist, is saying there is no science or scientist that can tell you that a GMO product is safe. Now, to top it off, I've known quite a few, still know a few, agricultural geneticists. And all of them know their stuff when it comes to agricultural genetics. They know how to do wheat and all this corn and so on and so forth. But I have never met any one of them that know anything about human genetics. They're not medical doctors, and none of them have been able to justify, at least in my mind, if GMOs are safe. It hasn't been proven yet. The doctors that have worked on GMO foods, you've more than likely seen them in YouTube videos, if they're still up, where these doctors stood out and says, I don't trust it, we haven't tested it. But their funding came from corporations, and the corporation says, we don't want you saying that to the public. Well, they said, I have a conscience, and they says, well, you don't have a job. So that's what happened to these people, and they blacklisted them, so now they can't go work for other companies. Isn't that really nice of them? Go figure. Pardon me, I just seem to have a need to cough a lot today. So, moving quite well along here. So we come up with a question, as Mark Twain was asking long time ago. And the question still remains the same, but the answer also seems to be the same. Who are the oppressors? They're the few, the king, the capitalists, and the handful of other overseers and superintendents. Who are the oppressed? They are the many, the nations of the earth, the valuable personages, the workers, they that make the bread that the soft-handed and idle eat. In other words, the soft-handed are people that don't actually get out and work. They've never worked a day in their life. They may know how to play and have fun and match clothes and build or design big houses, but they don't get out there and do anything with their hands. Most they do with their hands is games, eating, driving, things along that line, but actual work, I doubt they even sweep a floor. So these are the people, are the oppressors. The people that they are the oppressed are us. I doubt that the oppressed will actually listen to the show, so I would say that if you're listening to it, you know who you are. We are the oppressed. They are the oppressors. So, with the thought of oppressed and oppressors, I go back to a show that I did not too awfully long ago, where there was a question in a movie. It was a World War II movie where there were two men, two Nazis, soldiers with rifles, with over 200 prisoners. And the two Nazi soldiers with the rifles were walking around with the prisoners. They took one prisoner, tortured him to death, tortured him and then killed him while the 200 watched. After the war, the question was asked, if there are 200 of you against two with two rifles, why did you stand and watch? Why didn't you do something? You could have beaten two soldiers walking among you with two rifles easily. Maybe a couple of people would have died, but the rest would have lived. but you stood and did nothing. So now I get to the point where I look at society, which is including me. I'm not saying society is everybody else and me. I'm somebody standing here all by myself, not involved in any of this. Society is all of us. And I ask the question, so when did ignorance become a point of view? When did it become fashionable to say, I'm not doing anything, it's everybody else is going to do it. I don't have a claim in this. I don't have a dog in this fight. Yes, you do. Why? Because you believe. You believe everything is going to be okay. So what does Frank Herbert say? Frank Herbert, the author of Dune, say about beliefs? Well, beliefs can be manipulated. Only knowledge is dangerous. You can believe in something all day long, but until you can prove it, it's only a belief. When you have knowledge and can prove it, that's when it and you become dangerous. I know, a lot of people prefer silence, and they prefer to just believe what the status quo is. Truth is, you could never get 100% of any population, whether it be just in your house, in a social gathering, in a religious gathering, whatever, to have the same beliefs. To want to do things together. You can never get 100%. And you can't get it in any country. This is why there are different political parties, and they fight vigorously against each other. Why? Because everybody's got a different view of it. But what really makes it work is the fact that if you push enough, because even as Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the president during World War II in the United States, said when he got into office in the early 30s, I agree with Social Security, I agree with all the other programs that he pushed through. He said when he got in, he says, I agree with every one of you who are promoting the Social Security, the work programs that he instituted, whatnot. I agree with you, but you're going to have to make me do it. It sounds bad, but it's true, because this is the American system of government. It is the government of the people, by the people, for the people. And if the people don't speak up, then you'll get whatever the politicians say. Well, our constituents aren't saying anything, so we'll run it the way we think it ought to be run. And then you have little room to complain, because you didn't do anything in the first place. You need to be involved. That's the way the governments work. You make a big enough stink, it will happen. Just like in Bolivia, when they tried to privatize the water down there, and the people says, we can't make the choice between drinking water and eating food, we need both. So they created a riot. The government said, yeah, okay, IMF, International Monetary Fund, you guys can't have control of our water. That's just downright stupid. People are not going to stand for it. And so they kicked them out. Now Bolivia is becoming one of the most green countries on the planet. They're taking care of nature first. So, can it be done? If it can be done in a third world country, as we call them, why can't it be done in the first world countries? Or is money more interesting to us than our life? Here's Charles Fort. He lived before my next photo, which is Edward Bernays. And it kind of makes you wonder if Edward Bernays actually got his thought from here. Charles Fort says, almost all people are hypnotics. The proper authority saw to it that the proper belief should be induced. and the people believed properly. You want to tear down words? Let's just tear down a couple of them and just put them into perspective. The proper authority. Who is the proper authority? Well, that can range from governments or churches. Proper authorities. Because they are the ones who are supposed to be in charge. They're the ones who are supposed to influence our daily lives, religiously and socially, through government, whether it be religious government or political government. So there's your proper authority and proper belief. In other words, what they believe you should believe should be induced, told to you enough times that you believe it, or forcibly put on you. These are things that different facets of our society, I'll leave it that way as a general term, have been used to enforce upon people. In today's world, especially in the European world and then into the United States, but the United States came along after the fact. In Europe, it was the Catholic Church was considered to be Christianity. If you said you were a Christian back then, you were Catholic. That was the only thing that was accepted in as far as Christianity was concerned in Europe. Then Martin Luther came along and made Protestants to protest against the Catholic Church. So the war between Protestants and Catholics ensued. And then the United States came along, and the United States held to Protestantism. So it made it difficult for anybody that wasn't a Protestant who moved or migrate to the United States to get gainful employment. This is where started a lot of people that were not of Protestant religions that came to the United States. Said, well, if I can't get a job, I'll start my own business. So now a lot of people complain and throw the blame on a couple of, if you will, ethnic groups. I'll leave it as ethnic groups, even though that's not quite true or apropos. So here we have manipulation, and how the results of manipulation in this era, as Charles is talking about, had another effect on the society that we now call the United States, Canada, and a few other places. This is Edward Bernays. He is considered to be the father of propaganda, advertising, and public relations. He is the nephew of Sigmund Freud. He is the one who taught, if you will, corporations, companies in the United States, how to take the United States populace, who at that time would buy things as they needed it. Well, wore out the clothes, I'll go buy another dress, another suit, another pair of work pants, shoes. Ran out of milk, I'll go to the store and get some more milk. I'll get some more cheese as I ran out of that. It was a society that bought what it needed, not bought things on an emotional basis. Edward Bernays came along and showed corporations how to make people, or how to push people to buy on impulse. I don't need this car, but wow, it's pretty, it's nice, it's really cool. I don't need that suit, I don't need those pair of shoes, but I don't need that iPhone 5, but okay, I really want it. Okay. These are things that you have been manipulated to buy, to get how to live your life. Why? Because somebody studied human nature and taught it to corporations. Now corporations do it in such a way that you don't even know that you're being manipulated. Here, let's read it. The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. You want me to read that again? The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute what? An invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested, largely by men we have never heard of. This is a logical result of the way in which our democratic society is organized. Vast numbers of human beings must cooperate in this manner if they are to live together as a smoothly functioning society. Now, this last sentence before the dots, doesn't this make you consider again why we're always at war with someone that has never set foot on American soil? Doesn't that make you think? Vast numbers of human beings must cooperate in this manner if they are to live together as a smoothly functioning society. We went into Iraq to make them a democratic society, to make them copy us. Why? The people don't manufacture much of anything over there. But they had a beautiful country before we went over there and screwed it up. Okay, let's continue. In almost every act of our daily lives, whether in the sphere of politics or business, in our social conduct or our ethical thinking, we are dominated by the relatively small number of persons who understand the mental processes and social patterns of the masses. It is they who pull the wires which control the public. I just want to let you think about that for a moment. You say that we wouldn't be manipulated. The government wouldn't let us be manipulated. The government wouldn't. Really? You need to study world history some more. Let's take a look at it from another point of view. Someone who's a little bit more recent. This is Harriet B. Breaker, her book, Who's Pulling Your Strings? How to Break the Cycle of Manipulation and Regain Control of Your Life. Here's an excerpt from her book. If you are an approval addict, you need everybody's approval. Oh, do you like my dress? Do you like my suit? Do you like what I'm wearing? Do you like my iPhone? Do you like my iPad? Do you like my computer? Do you like my car? Do you like my house? Do you like my condominium? You're always looking for somebody's approval instead of just being happy with who you are and what you have that serves your needs. But let's continue. Let's start again. If you are an approval addict, your behavior is as easy to control as that of any other junkie. Well, think about it. If you need somebody's approval on things and who you are and what you are, you're a junkie. You're an approval junkie. Okay? All a manipulator need do is a simple two-step process. This is all a manipulator needs to do. Give you what you crave. I want it, I want it, I want it. Okay, here you go. Thank you. And then threaten to take it away. No, you can't take it away. Every drug dealer in the world plays this game. By the way, we do have a war on drugs, don't we? Okay, who runs that? Okay, let's move on. Even Albert Einstein says, the one who follows the crowd will usually get no further than the crowd. If you follow the crowd, you're just one of. You are somebody who nobody's really going to remember because you are just part of the group. The one who walks alone, however, is likely to find himself in places no one has ever been. For many people I know, that's frightening. I don't want to be someplace where I'm alone. I have to be with other people. I need other people around me. They can't be alone. But Albert Einstein, of all the scientists that lived during his time, stood out alone, and he wasn't afraid to stand out alone. There are a few other scientists that do the same thing. There are several other people in the whole world that do the same thing. They stand up for what they believe in, what they're working on, etc., etc. And these are the people that really make a big difference in the world. That doesn't mean that everybody has to be the Albert Einstein, the Gloria Steinem, or whoever your favorite person is, but somebody just who stands out in your community. Could be you. That makes a difference in the world, but you have to be willing to walk alone. Can you do it? Take a look at what Kurt Vonnegut has to say in his book Breakfast of Champions. So, in the interest of survival, they trained themselves to be agreeing machines instead of thinking machines. All their minds had to do was to discover what other people were thinking, and then they thought that too. This is our society that we live in. Well, it has been. I think a lot of people are beginning to go, enough is enough. But if you're still one of those who's just saying, what is everybody else thinking and doing? Okay, I'll fit in with it. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. This is manipulation. Don't stand up by yourself. Join in with us, and we'll all have a great big party. Oh, where's that party going to take you? Well, no matter what part of the world you're in right now, there's a lot of people that are suffering in poverty. And poverty is not a natural part of life. Poverty, as Nelson Mandela says it, is not an accident. It didn't happen by itself. Just like slavery and apartheid, it is man-made, just like money, and can be removed by the actions of human beings. Well, why not? Human beings started the poverty. Yeah, I said this sometime before. There was in the news yesterday an article, I think it was from Mother Jones News, about a U.S. senator who had made a speech at Harvard University, and it got published, and he is still supporting the theories that most Europeans during the at least the 17, 18, and early 1900s were purporting about people of other races outside of the European races, and saying that people of color, in short, were very ignorant people, and as he put it, because they could not, I believe he used the word could not, or couldn't, adapt to the society that is prevalent in the United States, they're considered to be ignorant, well, anything but positive. And the bad part about this is that when the Europeans came to the United States, the Europeans had jails, they were hanging people, they were using the guillotine, they had wars where they were just killing thousands upon thousands of people, etc., etc., etc. When they came to the United States and the Indians discovered the Europeans, well, if you're sitting on your own shores, probably even fishing, I'm quite sure you saw the ships coming before you on the ship saw the people on the ground going, hey, look at those people sitting on the ground over there. They probably went back to their tribes and says, I don't know what this is on the water, but it's big, and we don't know what's going on with that. So, anyhow, the Europeans came to the Americas. Generally in the Americas, there were never any jails, few wars, especially not on the magnitude that were going on in Europe, and they had their, if you will, royal and noble people. Some did, some didn't. But they had a different way of life than the Europeans, but the Europeans considered these people to be heathens, pagans. And I can imagine that most of them felt the same about the Europeans. Give you an example, the Hopi Indians. When I was living in Arizona several years ago, one Hopi Indian told me, says, in short story, he says, when the Spaniards were coming up to Arizona, which at that time the Spaniards owned that part of the world, the United States took it or bought it from them as the English expanded westward. The Hopi Indians told me, says, when the Franciscan monks came up and tried to convince them to accept Christianity, the chiefs said, okay, tell me about your religion. They at least listened. And they asked, okay, you have a father and a son. Where's the woman in this? And they said, there is no such. And they says, no wonder you guys are nuts. There is no balance. And I think, if I remember this part correct, the chiefs killed the missionaries, if you will, a priest that came up, and that was the beginning of the Hopi Indians' problems with the Spaniards. But that's another story. So, moving on from Nelson Mandela, let's take a look at Susan Forward. And then we're going to take a little commercial break. Children who are not encouraged to do, to try, to explore, to master, and to risk failure often feel helpless and inadequate. Let me read this once again, because you see that this is something that starts in the home life. It starts there. Probably unwittingly by parents that were taught the same thing and never got past their own helplessness and inadequacies. Read once again, first sentence. Children who are not encouraged to do, to try, to explore, to master, and to risk failure often feel helpless and inadequate. Over-controlled by anxious, fearful parents, these children often become anxious and fearful themselves. What is anxious and fearful? Anxious is, I can't live now. I'm always concerned about the future. I want the future. I want to make sure that this in the future is going to be great. I want to make sure I've got this in the future. And you are so busy thinking about the future, you forgot to live right now. You only have this moment. Live it. But I can't live now because I have to be concerned and anxious about the future. But because you can't control the future, you become fearful of the future. So you're now anxious to get to it, but you're afraid of the future all at the same time. So this makes a difference for them to this makes it difficult for them to mature. Many never outgrow the need for ongoing parental guidance and control. In other words, we're always looking for somebody to replace that person or persons in our lives telling us what to do, how to do it, when to do it, etc., etc., etc. That's the problem with a lot of people. This is your manipulation. You have the knowledge, but you never got to the point of, I know what to do with it. As a school teacher, I always taught people, I'm not only here to teach you what, but I'm trying to teach you how. How to reason, how to think it through. Because eventually you're going to become an adult, and you need to learn how to think, how to reason. What do I do in this situation? How do I get past this point? But you need to live right now. So, continuing. As a result, their parents continue to invade, manipulate, and frequently dominate their lives. If it's not the parents, it's your religious group. If it's not that, it's your somebody in your life, usually an adult, who's telling you constantly what to do, what not to do, never teaching you how to be an individual. We're going to take a short break for our commercials, and we'll be right back. Please be with us. We have a lot more to go.
I love what Maya Angelou had to say about the power of the spoken words. She said, I quote, "Words mean more than what is set down on paper. It takes the human voice to infuse them with deeper meaning." End quote. And that is the reason I made the decision to put my words into an audiobook. So please check out my spoken words in my new audiobook, Your Life, Your Way. The 10 must-have goals to improve your life. It's now available. You can either go to my website at www.coachingbyria.com and purchase it there. You can also download the book from iTunes by going to the link I provided in the show page, or simply go to the iTunes stores and put my name in the search, Coach Ria Wilkie, and you will be able to download the audiobook from there. And I do thank you all for doing so. And if you like to write a review, please do so. And I'm always grateful to be in service. Thank you.
Hi, this is Kate Williams Spencer of Your Thoughts, Your Reality Radio. Come and join us every Tuesday and Thursday for enlightening, humorous, and intriguing conversations with my guest, or just a monologue of thoughts that I share, all to help you look at life and your choices differently. For more information, go to YTYRradio.tk. That's YTYRradio.tk.
Are you ready to put an end to thinking about how you wish it were and take action? Take this step to find out more by going to coachingbyria.com. And you can receive your free consultation session with Coach Ria.
All right, and welcome back. I hope you will actually visit our advertisers. Keeps us going over here. Let us continue on with a quote from George R. Martin. His quote from A Storm of Swords. Very short quote, but it's very powerful. When you know what a man wants, you know who he is and how to move him. His use of move here can be very well and very easily substituted for manipulate him. Okay? Trust me, when you are using your credit cards and well, think about it. Things that you buy, especially if you're buying things over the internet, when you buy things from stores, and when you get your bill, they're always sending you material that suits your needs or your desires, actually, what they think you would want to buy next. There was a movie that came out probably 20 years ago, and I wish I remembered the name of it. I just remember the thought that was in it. That there was a corporate CEO that said that he liked his people, especially in upper level management, to be in debt. He liked that. Why? You have a wife, you have children, you have a car and a house that basically is beyond your means, but you want these things because it gives you the status that you want. People look at you and go, ooh, wow, I want one of those. I want something similar to that. I want the same thing as that. Ooh, I wanted that iPhone 5 just like you have. And yeah, you keep going with this. And because you're in debt, the corporate manager, actually the CEO of this company, said it in this movie. Why do I like you to be in debt? Because you are not going to leave. Because I'm paying you an outrageous salary that you cannot get anyplace else, starting as low as most companies want to start you at. So you'll be here until I say it's time for you to go, or you essentially quit. But of course he didn't say that part. But you will perform because you have debts and you want to continue to impress others. And this is part of what gets you into the trouble that you're in. You want to impress others that have nothing to do with your life and help you in nothing. If you have to impress people, then they aren't truly your friends. They aren't people that you really can count on. If you've never had the downs in life, you'll never know what I'm about to tell you. When you have a lot of money, you have a lot of friends, so you think. You will have parties, you will have social events, you'll get invited out to them. Why? Because they want you to spend money on them. They want to feel happy with you because their happiness is derived from money and you're spending it. The minute you stop spending it, whether it's because you choose not to spend more money or you don't have any more money, those same fair weather friends are going on to someone else that provides for them what they want. That those good times that they used to have with you no longer exist with you, so they're going to find someone else to give them the good times they want. So people are actually doing this. It doesn't have to be corporations and governments only. People know this. They know what turns you on. They know what turns you off. They can manipulate you. You probably do it to other people and just don't realize it. How about this? Just because something isn't a lie doesn't mean that it isn't deceptive. Excuse me. People are manipulated all the time by truth, or at least partial truths. Let's continue. A liar knows that he is a liar, but one who speaks mere portions of truth in order to deceive is a craftsman of destruction. We commonly call these people spin doctors. They spin portions of the truth in order to deceive the public. The public is you and me. Society is you and me. It's not the other person. It's us. It is you. It is me. They're all out there to spin this lie. So you ask the question, are you a manipulator? Well, the question comes back as an answer. I like to think of myself as an outcome engineer. This is taken from J.R. Ward, Lover Eternal. Many people that say, oh, I'm not a manipulator, I wouldn't manipulate anybody. They're probably chuckling in the background going, no, I'm an outcome engineer. Outcome engineer, same thing as a environmental engineer. A janitor is a janitor is a janitor. An outcome engineer is a manipulator is a manipulator is a manipulator. Just think about it. It's funny how people get caught up in titles. But, okay, it just makes you seem less threatening. Okay, We are caged by our cultural programming. Excuse me. Just, I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, there was a news article that came out, I think it was in Mother Jones News, about a senator who wrote a paper that was read in Harvard University. And he is still supporting the ideas. His paper was on immigration. He is still supporting what Europeans used to write about in the 17 and 1800s and even early 1900s, if not even before the 1700s. But as late as the early 1900s, in popular beliefs in culture of their time, it was believed that anyone that was not of European background, fair skin, blonde hair, so on and so forth, was less intelligent. They're far less contributing to society, at least as we know it. Well, part of that is true, because many cultures do not, how should we say, they don't accept the lifestyle of conquer and there's another expression I'm looking for, but basically I'll just describe it. To conquer and to subvert the conquered. When there's two ways of putting this story. When the American Indians discovered Columbus, it actually makes sense because you're sitting on the land, on the shore, in the northeastern states, which were more than likely covered by trees and rocks, and they're looking at this huge ship coming up. Yeah, it was more than likely that the Indians discovered Columbus before he discovered the Indians, but nonetheless. Or even the British, whoever came first. I'm quite sure sitting on your own shores or working along your own shores, whether you're fishing or whatever, you're noticing who approaches your land in the first place. But anyhow, the Europeans came to a society that was far more peaceful. They didn't have jails. They lived off the land. They took what they needed, and the earth was beautiful. And, of course, the Europeans saying you're uncivilized. Well, Europeans at that time, even today, had jails. They warred with everybody else, gave wars to kill people, and they brought this to the Americas and convinced, I guess, the people of those times, as convinced some people, not all of them, that you're uncivilized and you need to be our way. And this is the argument of the senator, is that since these cultures don't accept these ways that were brought here from another land, that they are the uncivilized, they are the unintelligent people. And it's nothing more from the truth than that statement. It's just a point of, I see life differently than you. But if you want to call me ignorant because I don't accept your way of life, I don't accept the fact that the prison system in the United States, I don't know about any other place, but the prison system in the United States is a private enterprise. And the private enterprises, the more people you have in the prison, the more money they make. So where do you actually have, if you will, any real justice in this? You don't, as far as I'm concerned, you don't really have any justice in this, because the system that is supposed to be here to protect you is actually making money for the corporations. Okay? So, culture is a mass hallucination. And when you step outside the mass hallucination, you see it for what it's worth. This is from Terence McKenna. Can you not see that the society you live in is just an hallucination? And you bought into it. You're buying into it on a daily basis. Because everything you do in your life is a choice. We make our own choices. And after you make your choices, what happens? Your choices make you. I choose to follow this person. Well, before that, you were just kind of maybe aimlessly looking around, or you were with someone else and decided to change lanes. So when you change lanes, now you have to go with the flow of that lane. You have to go along with the flow of that decision that you made until you make another decision to change that. Your choices make you. You have bought into a system, and now you are part of that system. So how do we get out of this? First, you have to have the courage to say no. Have the courage to face the truth. What is the truth? Truth is usually subjective, as some of us know. But there is a base core of anything that is true and cannot be argued beyond the simplest form. So, do the right thing because it is right. These are the magic keys to living your life with integrity. Is this sinking in with you yet? If you don't make those choices, you can be just like this horse. You can be taught to wear this harness and be tethered to something that you'll eventually learn. If I pull too much, it will stop me. It may even cause pain. And eventually, you can be tied to a chair, and as soon as you feel this harness being pulled, you'll know, or you'll believe, that I can't move any further than this. If you don't fight your training, you can be just like the horse, be tied to a chair that he or she can easily throw around, more so than even you and I can, because it's stronger. But because it's been taught, as soon as I'm tied to something, I can't move beyond the length of this tether. I can't do anything. What is your choice for your future? You can open your mind, or you can willfully accept ignorance. I never could quite grasp the idea of willfully accepting ignorance. But then again, that's why a lot of people don't like me these days. But we'll get into that in a little bit more. Even Martin Luther King said to us a long time ago, there's nothing in the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. I want to address this sincere ignorance. Sincere ignorance for me has been people who will not argue, will not debate, will not discuss anything outside of their beliefs, which, if you remember, the author of Dune, he says, if beliefs can be manipulated, knowledge is what's dangerous. But people are afraid of knowledge. They are sincerely hooked to the ignorance that they've been taught or accept. And sometimes it's both. I've been taught to believe this way, and this is the way it is. My ex-wife used to say all the time, if Tide was good enough for my grandmother and it's good enough for my mother, it's good enough for me. It may be just fine, but have you tried anything else? Do you know why you've made that choice? But a lot of people are afraid of change. So, the question, are you manipulating me again? You can ask this of anybody you know, or even the society that you're in, or your government, or your place of work. Are you manipulating me again? And your answer will come back from whoever you They're asking the question too. Try not to fall for it. I dare you. Do they have their teeth into you that deep that you'll just give in? That you'll fall for it again? Are you independent enough to say no? To get up and walk away if that's what's necessary? Here's take one from C. Joy Bell. I don't know her other names, but anyway. There are those whose primary ability is to spin wheels of manipulation, as we said, spin doctors. It is their second skin, and without these spinning wheels, they simply do not know how to function. They are like toys on wheels of manipulation and control. If you remove one of the wheels, they'll never be able to feel secure or to be whole. I've met, well, in my age, I've met a lot of different people in my lifetime. I've met a lot of people that when you take away their manipulation, their ability to control, they don't know what to do. Literally. They spend their whole life manipulating someone. If it's not you, it's someone else. How do I control this person? What is their weaknesses? How do I do it? What do I do to get them to do what I want them to do? And when you don't yield to their manipulation, to their control, they're literally flabbergasted, and they're trying to figure out what to do and how to do it to make you one of their opinions, someone who does their bidding for them, someone who does the dirty work for them. I want to bring this to a close because we're coming close to the top of the hour here. In a culture that is becoming ever more story stupid, in which a representative of the Coca-Cola Company can, with a straight face, pronounce, as he donates a collection of archival Coca-Cola commercials to the Library of Congress, that Coca-Cola has become an integral part of people's lives by helping to tell these stories. It is perhaps not surprising that people have trouble teaching and receiving a novel as complex and flawed as Huck Finn, but it is even more urgent that we learn to look passionately and technically at stories, if only to protect ourselves from the false and manipulative ones being circulated among us. Huck Finn will tell you more about your own history than a bunch of commercials being donated to the Library of Congress. But there's so many people that went, oh, that's so wonderful. Look at all these commercials that Coca-Cola donated to the Library of Congress. Tell me something. Do you think that your life would go along just fine without ever seeing one of those commercials? What do you think? This is from George Saunders, title of his book, The Brain Dead Megaphone. Makes a lot of noise, but there's no real thought behind it. So, remember this. Whatever you do in your life, it doesn't matter what. Whatever you allow is what will continue. If you don't stop it, you don't change it. If you're not the one or part of the group that brings about the change that you believe should be, then don't be surprised when it continues. Do you want to be free? Do you want to get yourself off of that wall of conformity? Being told when to leave, what to do, when to return. Do you look for, do you really seek your freedom? Some people don't like freedom. Freedom means responsibility. And there's many people that will not accept freedom. We love to say that we live in a free country, but there's responsibilities that come with that. It's not just somebody will take care of it for me. I have to do something about it myself. So instead of trying to think about how do I work within this box that I've been put in, why not think about getting rid of the box? After you thought about it, why don't you make it happen? Get rid of the box. Nobody ever said that you had to belong to something. I'll have to do this one day, is to show you a paradox, if you will, something that I learned a long time ago. It's better if I show it to you, and I'll share this with you at another time. But it has something to do with thinking out of the box and how we inevitably put ourselves into a box. So Paul Johnson here is writing about linen. And I hope you think about this literally, even for whatever country you're in. His, speaking of linen, humanitarianism was a very abstract passion. It embraced humanity in general, but he seems to have had little love for or even interest in humanity in particular. He saw the people with whom he dealt, his comrades, not as individuals, but as receptacles for his ideas. On that basis, and no other, they were judged. He judged man not by their moral qualities, but by their views, or rather the degree to which they accepted his. You may say, well, that was a communist country. He was a proponent of communism. But tell me how different that is from our own society, and the society that you live in. Isn't politics that way? If you're in the United States, aren't we seeing that right now with the sequester? I hope you're thinking about these things. This is what I'm hoping that you will do, is to think. Okay, here's the part that makes me different from many other people, and I have to accept this on a daily basis, and usually throughout my day. From Plato: those who are able to see beyond the shadows and the lies of their culture will never be understood, let alone believed by the masses. This is the part where I understand where people go, I cannot be the individual that you ask. I cannot accept that kind of freedom because I'm afraid to stand on my own 2 feet. Of course, people that say that won't say that I am afraid. There's few that will. They'll be honest with themselves, and in turn will be honest with other people. I'm afraid. I cannot do that. Or, since I ran that together, I'm afraid and I cannot do that. Or I'm afraid and I will not do that. I cannot stand on my own 2 feet. I don't feel secure about myself. That's your first clue. I don't feel secure about myself to stand up against what I feel is something that's much more powerful than I. But if you happen to be a Christian or a Jew, and I'm not sure about the Quran, but there's a story of David and Goliath. David, who stood up to someone that everybody else was shaking in their boots over, or sandals, and he defeated him with one small pebble. If you were ever in the military, you understand that the best way to fight someone is not with your hands and feet, with your body, with a weapon other than a piece of paper and a pen. Or these days, with a computer, and you can defeat the biggest person, the biggest corporation, with facts that you can write down. There are so many ways to fight other than the physical fight. Usually a physical fight is the last means of persuasion, if you will call it persuasion. It is the last means. It is never your first. You fight physically when everything else ceases to work. You don't start the fight with a fist fight or with weapons. Just conversation, debate, and if necessary, pen and paper or typed. This is how supposedly a society works, civilized or uncivilized, depending on your status, your point of view. It's always through conversation. And your word should be your bond. If you're going to break free from that which you feel is holding you back, what are you going to do about it? Or do you just keep the ropes tied around your wrist and go, it's easier to live life this way? People, I ask you these questions because this is a time where you cannot ask somebody to fight for you. But when you need to get out and do this on your own, not literally get out of your house if that's what you don't want to do. You can do this by phone, by letter, by your computer, by any means that helps to make our societies clear around the world a better place to live. If Iceland can kick out their banking cartel and say, you're illegal, get out, we don't owe you a thin dime, and they arrested everybody in Finland that was a part of that, why can't you do the same in your own country? You didn't see that in the news, did you? It was there, but it was like one of those things you bury in the back page next to obituaries where you never go unless you're looking for who died. Yeah, if you're that old that you're looking to see, has any of my friends died? Okay? You are the only person on earth who can use your ability. It's an awesome responsibility. You can do so much. You don't have to be the one who's standing on the street with a megaphone. You don't have to be the one who's in a march. You don't have to show up at City Hall, State Hall, wherever. You can do this by telephone, by computer, by talking with your friends. You get people that you know that are saying, hey, I believe our lives can be better. Not just for me, but for everyone. And somehow, some way, it seems to be throughout history, we suffer through a lot, but we come out shining and smiling in the end. But it's only because people stood up and said, hey, enough is enough. These people have taken a lot of gruff, and it was always behind the scenes, well, most of the time. And all they're ever asking is, let me be a free man, free to travel, free to stop, free to work, free to choose my own teachers, free to follow the religion of my fathers, free to think and talk and act for myself. Is that so different than what you ask for in your life? There's something that joins us with the Native Americans or the indigenous people of the Americas. All they want is the freedom that they had before somebody came along and said, you can't have that freedom. Why? Last year, when there were so many people that were afraid of December 21st, 2012, There were so many people that were afraid of it, and I was watching what was going on as well, but I ended up adopting this one. And this one still sticks with me, as I hope it will with you. I'm not, nor was I, afraid, for the world will end in 2012. What I do fear, and still fear, is that the world will continue without changing anything. Have you been manipulated so much that you cannot change, that you will accept everything that is, and life will just continue going on as it is? Hating, quarreling, people losing their homes, their jobs, their ability to be individuals that are contributing to their own societies, their own communities. Do we have to see children going hungry, living out of motels, if they're lucky enough to have parents that are stayed together to help them at least have a life together, or do they have to go live on the street? What will it take for you to say enough is enough? Are you fighting the manipulation, or have you accepted it, or are you just denying that it doesn't even exist? These are choices that you have to make for yourself. You do have to make them for yourself. If for no other reason, you listen to this program. And now that your eyes have been at least, if you say, at least parted, that you could see something, maybe not all of it, but you've seen some of it, your choices now are, what do I do? Do I ignore this and let it go on? Or do I just ignore it and let it go on and complain that nobody else is doing what I can do? I am somebody. I exist. You exist. You are somebody. You can make a difference. I hope you don't let the world continue as it is without changing anything. I wish the best for you and for all of us in the future. And I ask you to visit the website. And this last Tuesday of the month, we have a discussion group that's open from 7 p.m. Central in the Americas for 2 hours. You're welcome to be a part of it. It's in a webinar. It will be open. There will not be any need for registration on this one. Our host, or actually I'm hosting, but our presentation, the one who is leading in this, his name is Troy Matheson, and he has a lot of information that will be open for discussion, for questions and answers, and it will always be honest. We don't know, we'll tell you, we don't know. If you're looking for proof, we'll do our best to provide the proof for you whenever possible, and I'm quite sure that you will enjoy this. It will be something that can help you change the world that you live in and those around you. In the meantime, take care, be well, and thank you for being a part of our show. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us here on Your Thoughts, Your Reality Radio. Please make a note to join us again on our next broadcast. For more information, visit our website at www.ytyrradio.tk. That's www.ytyrradio.tk. Our theme music is Soul Controlled by B.O. Crew under a Creative Commons License 3.0. See our website for more information.